Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today we're going to talk about the significance of air guns for survival purposes. But before we do that, if you're interested in detective stories, this is the first part of an 11-part series that I wrote. It's called Bloody Crosses, and if you're interested, it's in Dutch, and it will be down in the link below in the description. So, air guns. Air guns are something that is highly underestimated for survival purposes. A lot of people will say, why you need an air rifle when you can just get a regular gun? Not everyone can get their hands on a gun, and especially not in an illegal way. Some people don't have the time or the financial means to uh, get a permit, get a rifle, and all that paperwork that is involved. So for some people, that's it's not really an option. Or when time gets bad, there's a possibility that the government will try to reduce the sale of guns to encounter certain social unrest, riots, and perhaps civil war and other kinds of things where they do not want civilians to own more weapons to get a grip on the situation. So, with that out of the way, um, air guns are, in my opinion, something that you really need to have. Uh, it's good for bug in and also a bug out scenario. During a bug out, I would advise to get one of these smaller handguns that work on air, but I would advise to get one of those. I know that with compressed air or with CO2 cartridges, these can shoot much farther and faster. But the problem is reliance. Those kind of operating systems for air guns, they are a little bit more complicated. They have more or chance that there will be a mechanical failure, especially during a survival situation where you do not have the resources, or perhaps there is more chance that you will break it. So that's something that I would advise to get one of those guns that work either with a breakup. That means that you do this all the way down. You put a pellet in here. You close it up again. Then the spring is all the way to the back, and that way you can shoot and break it up again, put the pellet in, and you can keep firing. This is just one of the most simple system there is, and it's still powerful enough to take down birds or small game. Um, the second system that I will advise is, but in my opinion, I prefer the breaking one because this is the most simple one that I can even do my repairs myself. But there is another system where you have a hand air gun with a pumping system that can perhaps shoot harder without the need for something to fill them up like compressed air or CO2 cartridges that you pump in the front. But yet again, those have more mechanical parts that could fail. So, in my personal opinion, I would prefer a break open gun, because it's the most simple one and most reliant one. And why would I say to get a handgun? Because many people will think during a bug out, wouldn't you want a bigger gun to get game from further away? Well, there are several things that a handgun are better for, and that is for concealment. You cannot just walk around with something like a big gun like this during a bug out. Not only people will be wary of you or will think that you have bad intentions and will preemptively um, do something against you, but also the authorities will not take kindly to you running around with a visible gun. Even if you're a refugee or during a bug out and you do nothing wrong, government how do you say this? Like policemen and military, they do not like to see people walking around with those. So you can conceal this in your bug out bag and take it out to hunt for game, so you can have food during your bug out. How do you say this? Your bug out route. So I would say get one of these and take. And the another benefit is you do not need a lot of ammo for this. I'll do no no. I mean, you do not need a lot of space for the ammo. With a real gun, you have bigger bullets and cartridges, and these will take a lot of space and room for for perhaps a few shots. But this contains 250 shots. So with this, if you're a really good shot and you do not waste one, you could in theory shoot 250 birds or small game with this, and that could be a game changer, literally in during a bug out to get more food. Because if you are trying to hunt game with other means like catapults, bow and arrow, or some traps, that would take a lot of time and some luck and a lot of skill. But skill is something that is hard to get, especially here in Belgium. It's hard to practice because it's considered poaching if you're going to illegal hunting. So yeah, that's something that a lot of people will not have enough experience to do. But with this, anybody with a little bit of tactical mind and a little bit marksmanship can get some game on an easy way. All right. So, like I said, get put this in your bug out bag, and another benefit: if the authorities will catch you with it for some reason during a checkpoint, uh, I think you have more chance to get off or get off with lighter sentences or a fine if you have one of these instead of a real gun, because these are less deadly against other people, but in the I would say even if you have one of these and the other person knows that it's air rifle and you're like an aggressor or somebody who tries to rob you or is aggressive during the bug out, even if you point one of these at them, they will not they will probably back away, or they will be more carefully and you have more time to keep them at a distance or threaten them or something like that. You have at least some chance with this to get somebody, an aggressor, away, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's another thing. That's one of the things that you can use during bug out. During a bug in situation, on the other hand, it's also handy to have a air gun. One of the strategies that I would use to get more food during a bug in, if I cannot leave my house, I have a garden, and a tactic that I am actually already start to implement is there is a feeding board on a stick that I have in my garden, and I leave some grain or some seeds behind, so birds in the immediate area will always get to it. So when times get bad and I want to get fresh meat, or I want to get some more food to hunt more game for additional food for the diet, then the birds will have learned at a certain pattern that there will always be food. So at a certain point, there is a certain point that I can calculate the distance and always get a right shot if a bird or like a pigeon will get on that feeding board. So that way you can have a source of food in your back garden without going out of the house to hunt for some small game. So that's another benefit you can use. Uh, you can do it with a small air rifle like this, but for because it's in the garden, it's kind of difficult. From the moment I get out of my house and get closer, then the birds will just fly away because they are scared. What you can use then is a big air rifle like this. That is an air rifle that is just beneath the limits of what's legally allowed to own, which is 7.5 joule, which is just above it. You need a permit, but it is just the right size. And yeah, I use this for in case, like I said, in case I need to hunt for some small game for extra additional food, and also to get rid of rats, because I live in the how do you say this, middle of nowhere? No, not really middle of nowhere. I live on the I forgot the word. Um, I live more on the countryside. That's perhaps the word. And yeah, I have rats here. Some rats are this big, and I do not like when these little bastards, these big bastards, get into my garden, because they get into my chicken coop and they eat eggs. They get sometimes when they find a way in, they attack one of my guinea pigs, which I don't like. So I have to exterminate them. So when I see one and I want to eradicate them, I use one of these because yeah, rats are very smart, and they will know from a certain from a certain distance that you will do that. So with distance you can use one of these, but there is one thing caveat to this, and that is the problem I noticed with shooting big rats like this is with the regular pellets. With I use one of, if you can see, just one of these pellets, which is with a point. Usually go through the rat, and that the problem is the rat is not dead because it's just in a straight line. There is less tissue damage. The rat will run away, will be in agony, and that's bad for the rat. But also it's still alive, so it will come back for more food and will be more carefully. So that's kind of harder to hit them for the next time. So what I use for them is if you're familiar with dum dum rounds, this is, if you can see, these are pellets with a cross in the middle. So what does this do? The problem, like I said before, is if you shoot with a straight pellet through a rat, there is minimal damage. But with dum dum rounds like these, the moment it will hit the rat, it will start to expand and scatter away. Inside of the rat will hit multiple vital organs, and the rat will be dead immediately without, with a minimal of suffering. And even if it's run away, it will eventually bleed to death very quickly. So it's more humane actually to use one of these on rats than using a regular pellets like these. But each one have advantages and disadvantages. Like these will go faster and have more precision, but these will be less precise, but they will have more stopping power to get rid of a rat. And like I said before, with each of these little pots, you have at least 250 pellets. So that's already 1,000 shots that you have. Another thing that you need to notice with this kind of air rifles is there are a lot of air rifles on the market. So look which one is best. Don't look at the most flashy and coolest and most tactical ones. An air rifle, in my opinion, should be just as simple as possible. An example is this is just an air rifle that I got for my grandfather that I used when he was young, and this thing is at least 50, perhaps 50 years old, and it still works. Although the spring is a little bit less power, and yeah, there was some parts of the sides broken off, so we put a vise into it, but it still works. And another thing is the ring is a little bit deterred from all those years, but like I said, it still works, and this could still in theory take out a pigeon. But it's just to show you that just a simple mechanical air rifle could go for a long time, like 50 years, like this one. So you need to take care of your air rifles. So what can you do to make your air rifle go further away? First of all, store it in a good condition. So like you can see behind me, there is a if you can see, there is a gun case where it can keep dry, so that the mechanical parts of the rifle will not rust. So that's one thing. Another thing that you can do is oil some of the parts so they do not rust. And don't forget, for air rifles, use oil that cannot deter the closing ring of the where you put the pellet. So that's something you need to be very careful about. Another thing is, um, have some have some care with the optics, that you do not just let it fall or bash, that the optics side will not be broken or get out of line. And if you get a rifle like this, I would always say get one where you can put optics on, but also with a normal, conventional sight on it that you can use both ways for close and long distances, or in case that this will get fogged up, get foggy, so you cannot look through it, or if this sight will break. So that's something you need to be careful about. And next to the oil, you can have some reserve parts that the parts that most likely will break, like the spring. Get some extra springs. Get some of these rubber rings that you can put to, in case oil, or by some reason the closing ring is deterred by something. Get different types of ammo, like I said, the dum dum rounds, expander rounds, just regular rounds. Each one have their benefits, and yeah, with this you can take a lot of shots. And it's during a bug-in. It's not only for pest control, for hunting some extra food for your pantry, but it can also be used as self-defense. I can assure you, with this 7.5 joule air rifle, and you have a dum dum round or one of those expanders which come on very hard. Any trespasser or a robber or a thief will not get closer. I can assure you that. Many people will think, but it's not really that deadly, and it's just a small round. Well, if you take a good shot with this on a vital spot, the knee, plexus, throat, and or even just the face, or if you can hit the hands of the trespasser or the robbery, I can assure you, even with a small pellet like this, that will hurt like hell. And even if they are determined to come further, you can weaken them in that way, or get a psychological overhand over them. Because if you are willing to if you show a trespasser or a robbery that you're willing to use force in what way than ever, that's a psychological overhand that you can get over the person who is trying to get something from you. So many people, all the people will say that is nonsense that you tell me. Well, I would say get your friend now. It is hypothetical, so don't do it. Get your friend and ask them to shoot you. You will not allow it. So that's proving a little bit of my point. And yeah, it's just the sight of a rifle, like in low light conditions, or even just over the day. If somebody sees you coming with this, they will probably not want to encounter and get a risk to get some damage. So yeah, that's what I want to say about self-defense with air rifles. Another thing is there's another type of air rifle that some people will have, and that is airsoft rifle. It is an airsoft rifle. This shoot 6 millimeter uh, plastic pellets, and these are not capable of shooting of hurting a person. But there are other advantages of it, and that is uh, these 6 millimeter pellets, depending on the power of the rifle, which is usually around 400, maximum 500 FPS, can take down a small bird like a pigeon perhaps, or even weaken it so you can catch it or take it out of balance, or perhaps yeah, small game is another thing, but birds, you can hit them in the wing and they will get weakened. They can weaken enough so you can catch them. But small game is not really an option with airsoft rifles. But the thing is, another advantage of this is uh, you can get a lot of cheap. You can get a lot of ammo for cheap with the 6 millimeter plastic rounds. Another thing is these are depending like this. This is one of those bolt action with just a small magazine where you can put the 6 millimeter pellets in. With this looks very realistic actually. So it can be used as a deterrent for trespassers or robbers if they see you coming with something realistic looking like this. Because airsoft rifles comes in all shapes and sizes, from pistols to submachine guns to assault rifles to even rocket launchers and sniper rifles like these. And these look, like you can see, very realistic. If I would hold this aimed at somebody, they will think that it will be a real rifle. So yeah, there is that determined factor that you can use as a self defense factor if you do not own a real air rifle or a real gun or an alarm pistol. Like I said in my previous video, look at the blank gun about the uses about a blank gun in one of my videos. All right, so I think we're around. Yeah, an air rifle could be a very powerful asset in your survival planning, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. And by the way, for all the American people who are watching this and think like I said before, why do you not get a real rifle? It's not really that easy for most people in Belgium to get a rifle because there is a lot of paperwork, bureaucracy. It costs a lot of money, and there are a lot of rules that you need to follow to in order to keep the gun. So, and another thing, you can get on a list. So in case of a long term or a big disaster scenario, they can get your guns, perhaps the government, but that's something that I will not open that can of worms. All right, so I would say thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you have any other uses for an air rifle, perhaps perhaps there is something that I did not mention in the video, like perhaps there is a use for an air rifle that you can use, like making a fire on some way or signaling or something. I don't know. If you have another use for an air rifle, please let me know. I'm always eager to learn. Um, or another thing perhaps you can do is put a flashlight on this for self-defense in the night that you can and shine in the eyes of the person and they cannot really see that if it's a real rifle or an air rifle. So that's just a small other small hack that you can do to get a trespasser or a robbery under control, or at least deter them. All right, enough talking. End of the video. Bye. Cheers, and see you in the next video.